Welcome back to Green is Good, and we've got on the line with us Matt Gallagher, who's the co-owner and the head brewer at Half Acre Beer Company back in the great windy city of Chicago. Welcome to Green is Good, Matt Gallagher.
Hey, yeah, thanks for having me.
Hey, listen, Matt, we're so excited to have you on because we're talking a little bit about the nexus of beer and water. But before we get into it, talk a little bit about, who is Matt Gallagher and how did you become the co-owner and the head brewer at Half Acre over in Chicago?
Yeah, I grew up in New Jersey, went to engineering school, and lived out in Colorado for a few years. So that was a big shock moving from New Jersey to Colorado. Much different culture.
What part of Jersey did you grow up in?
It was a place called West Windsor. It's kind of central Jersey near Trenton.
Yeah. Okay.
So then going out to Colorado, and they have such an established brewing culture out there. I was out there early 2000s and really got into beer out there, and then ended up moving to Chicago for a job, and kind of got here into Chicago and was wondering where all the breweries were.
Perfect. And so then you started your own?
So worked for 5 years, and then ended up wanted to make a change, and ended up meeting my partner Gabriel, who he had already gotten things started with Half Acre Beer Company. And I just sent him an email, and we ended up getting in touch and hanging out for a while. And then I ended up quitting my job and coming on board and helped figuring it all out.
Perfect. So talk a little bit, and thanks for joining us today, Matt. Talk a little bit. We were just talking with Karen Hobbs from the NRDC, the great organization, the NRDC. And for our listeners out there, please support them at nrdc.org. They're doing great work in so many issues, be it water and way beyond. Matt, talk a little bit about what you're doing over at Half Acre with regards to water, and how did you get involved with Karen and the great folks at the NRDC and this whole great water and beer campaign?
Yeah, well, we're lucky enough to be right here in Chicago where Karen is headquartered. So it was pretty easy for us. She asked us, and we said, of course.
Right.
So, you just talked to Karen, so you saw how great she is.
Yeah. So wait a second. I grew up listening to all these great commercials about beer and, the quality of hops and the quality of barley. And since when they never talked about water that much? Why is water so important to the beer making process?
Yeah, well, water, by volume weight makes up most of what you're drinking when you're drinking a beer. So it's vitally important to the beer quality. So that's why historically you see a lot of the breweries that have lasted hundreds of years are located on great water sources like in London and the Czech Republic, where they have very different water sources, but both terrific. So water is huge to beer. Its pH content, or its pH, its mineral content, all is going to affect the flavor of the beer. And it also helps, each beer coming from different water sources, they're going to taste different. So it helps differentiate your beer and really give it a sense of place. So
let's stop there. You're a brewer. You're also an entrepreneur, Matt, and that's what you just talked about, water sources and stuff like that. I used to be in the brewing industry many lifetimes ago, and it's funny. My head brewer, when she was setting up our facility, she had the water tested, and she met with the city officials back in that city that we were opening up in, and she found out that on any given day the water could come from 17 different sources, and so she decided to put a reverse osmosis system. Is the same true in most cities, in Chicago and other great cities, that the water could come from numerous sources? And do you have to put in sort of some equalizers to protect the baseline and the quality of the water going into your beer products, so you're able to create a consistent and good beer?
Yeah, there are a fair amount of breweries that do that, based on the quality of their incoming water, and if it's going to be changing from season to season. But for us, being here right on the shores of Lake Michigan, the city does have multiple intakes coming from Lake Michigan. But they're all fairly similar. They're all coming from the same lake. They're all coming from the same source. So we don't worry about it at all. We do a little bit of mineral adjustment, mostly for pH, but it's very minute. And we pretty much just roll with the Lake Michigan water. Is
the water considered always pretty good in Chicago? Is just like here? I'm in New York City, and New York City water is considered quite good. Is the Chicago water system considered quite good?
Yeah, it is. When I moved here, everyone was bragging about how good the tap water is. So the Chicago population is very proud of their tap water.
Cool. Well, how many brewers like you have joined on to this great program with the NRDC, and how is this becoming a bigger and bigger campaign?
It really is. I want to say I don't know the exact number, but I want to say it's in the 40s now.
Wow.
Yeah. So yeah, it's becoming a lot more important for a lot of these small breweries to be thinking about these things.
What's your overall mission? You have every brewery is like is idiosyncratic and has their own business mission, just like every business does. What's your overall mission at Half Acre, and how does clean water come into play with that?
Yeah, what we do is, we're a fairly small brewery. We're right in the city of Chicago, right in a neighborhood. There's apartments and houses right across the alley from our brewery. So, we're very, integrated into the community that we brew in. So, the whole kind of community spirit, community atmosphere is very important to us. We mostly sell our beer in the Chicago area. I'd say about 95% of our beer is sold and consumed, in the Chicagoland area.
So you make it locally and you sell it locally.
Yeah, exactly. So of course, protecting our water source is huge, and the city of Chicago being right on Lake Michigan, the lake really dominates the city, and we just want to make sure that we don't screw it up.
Got it. For our listeners out there, if you just joined the show, we've got Matt Gallagher. He's the co-owner and head brewer at Half Acre Brewery in Chicago, Illinois, and you can check him out at halfacrebeer.com. Matt, talk a little bit about sustainability. At Green is Good, we talk about a little bit about sustainability with all of our guests and our listeners. They want to hear about sustainability. Talk a little bit about what else makes Half Acre Beer Company sustainable. What else are you doing besides making sure the water is clean and also helping the NRDC enforce the Clean Water Act? What else are you doing in sustainability?
Yeah, we're starting to think more about this. When we started about 5 years ago, we didn't have a lot of money. We were just trying to get this thing up and running and off the ground, and we had these grand ideas of being very, very eco-friendly and sustainable as a kind of an idea and an ideal. But now that we've got some traction going, we're brewing a lot of beer. We have a little more resources to dedicate to sort of improving our processes. And I would say the main thing is really improving our efficiency, whether that's reducing our production loss, reducing our packaging materials loss. If we're brewing 15,000 barrels of beer a year, if we can package that much, we're doing really well. So that we're really cutting down on our waste. Other things we're doing is, trying not to overdo, rinsing tanks. So, whether we just rinse a tank for 5 minutes, or can we figure out, hey, maybe 3 minutes is enough to rinse a tank and it's nice and clean after 3 minutes, so we don't need to, waste those extra gallons of water rinsing for an additional 2 minutes. So those are the things that now that we have some time to monitor and track and really think about more, whereas, before not having the resources, we did a lot of overkill to make sure, everything is clean and sanitized, and, we're making quality beer.
I'm also on your website right now, and for our listeners, it's a great website, very colorful, very descriptive. You can check it out at halfacrebeer.com. It also talks a little bit about here what you're doing in terms of in terms of your environmental conscious. You're one of the first brewers, if not the first brewer in Chicago, to can your beer, and we all know that cans. If you talk, we had the great folks of Alcoa on last week. Kevin Anton, who's the chief sustainability officer from Alcoa, and cans. Our aluminum cans are the infinite recyclable aluminum is. So you're the first to actually can your beer.
Yeah, exactly. There was other small breweries before us who were canning, but yeah, in the Chicago area, we were kind of at the forefront of putting our beer into cans, and they're great. They weigh a lot less, so shipping costs coming in and going out are a lot more efficient. They are obviously more recyclable. You can take them to the beach. When you're done with them, you can crush them so they take up less space in the recycling can. You can take them a lot of places. So, yeah, the cans are a lot of fun for sure.
How about energy efficiency? What else are you doing with regards to energy efficiency and the CBI, the Commercial Building Initiative, and things of that such? Because Chicago is a very progressive city. We've had some of your great leadership on our show before. What is Half Acre Beer Company doing with regards to energy efficiency?
We are in the midst of a real thorough energy audit at the moment that the Shaw Company is doing for us. So they approached us and wanted to use us kind of as a test case. So we said, "Oh, that sounds great." So they had their engineers come into our building, really did a thorough study of where we're using electricity, where we're using natural gas, how is it being used, where are big sources that we could work on reducing. So they're in the process of compiling all the data, and they're going to be coming back to us with a report that is going to point out like, all right, well, if you invest in this, it's going to pay back in this many months or this many years. You're going to save this much money.
The ROIs,
yeah. So we're super psyched to get that report back, and the engineers at Shaw have been great working with us.
Matt, we're down to the last 2.5 minutes or so. What's your, talk a little bit about water. Talk a little bit about some of your one or two of your favorite water stories with regards to the importance of beer and what you're doing over at Half Acre.
Just quick childhood memory. Growing up in New Jersey, going to the shore. Always going to the shore in the summer, hanging out on the ocean. The ocean is holds kind of a very special place in my heart. So that kind of carries through into what we're doing here, because we use a ton of water. Just brewing beer just uses a ton of water, and as we grow, we have to figure out ways to make that more sustainable, and we can't just keep using more and more and more and more and more, because we're just going to screw it up for the future brewers who are coming up. So
you're right. Are you going to continue to recruit more brewers and more breweries across America to be part of the NRDC's great Clean Water Act campaign?
Yeah, for sure. It's really becoming kind of a movement in the craft brewing industry where if you're not working on sustainability and recycling, reusing, you're really going to get left behind, because there's some great breweries out there that are doing just a lot of fantastic stuff, like Sierra Nevada and New Belgium,
right? And
they're really leading the charge. And if all the smaller breweries out there don't really sort of get in line, you're really going to get left behind. And the consumers who are buying our beer, this is very important to them as well. It's important to our employees. For us to ignore something like this would be a big mistake.
Hey, 30 seconds left, Matt. Share with our listeners who want to be the next Matt Gallagher a pearl of wisdom or two in terms of being an entrepreneur and working for yourself.
Oh, I think being naive is the best. We had no idea what we were doing, and I'm not so sure we would have been doing it if we knew what all the mistakes we were going to make.
So just putting one foot in front of another and just doing is sort of your secret recipe to success, huh?
Yeah, just figure it out. I figure if we can figure it out, almost anybody can figure this out.
That's awesome. Well, Matt, I just want to say thanks for coming on, and again, thanks to the great work you're doing with Karen Hobbs over at the NRDC, and again for our listeners out there who want to support the NRDC and all the work they're doing with regards to the Clean Water Act. It's www.nrdc.org/brewers. Matt Gallagher, I want you to keep doing well and keep leading the charge with regards to clean water and sustainability, and we hope that you get other brewers on board. And for our listeners out there, go support Matt and his great partners over at Half Acre Beer in Chicago, and you can check them out at halfacrebeer.com. Matt Gallagher, you're brewing up a lot of success, and we're proud of you, and you're truly living proof that green is good.